Hello everyone! Today we read stories from Malicious Compliance subreddit. We'll see people get paid to be lazy twice, get their managers in trouble, and simply demolish someone's life. I am sad to say, but guys, I feel like I'm losing my high spirit to produce these Reddit videos. I don't know why, but my videos are shown to literally 5 people if I don't have them promoted for money, but I don't know, maybe you have some suggestions how to improve things, or just some kind words, please leave them in the comments. Let's go! You want to keep the coconuts? Fair, take this build too. We will start with the backstory. Our building and the neighboring building have a small wall between the two, and on either side of the wall we have parking areas. Around 5 cars are parked on our side and 3 on their side. But on their side they also have a coconut tree that grows on the ground of that building. The tree leans over into the parking area of our building, and many times the coconuts fall and sometimes they hit the cars parked below. We do not have roof or shed above the car parking area. Even though it's been discussed in the building, it's a separate issue. I won't get into details of it. It's just that they don't want to spend money for it. Whenever a coconut does fall, the people of the neighboring building always come over to claim the coconut, saying, "The tree is on our grounds, hence the coconut is ours," and are very rude about it, even though no one in our building bothers with taking the coconut or want to do anything with it. The only problem we hold with the coconuts is that they damage our cars quite often, and we've asked the neighboring building to do something about their tree because the tree lies on their grounds and we cannot do anything about it. This time it was my car's turn. It was parked under the tree, and about 7 in the morning, one of the coconuts fell and hit the windshield of my car, completely destroying it and denting the front hood of the car after bouncing off the windshield. I heard the beeping noise from my car and immediately went to check on it, and lo and behold, I find the people of the neighboring building on their way to take the coconut. Now, I don't really care about the coconut, nor did I want it. I probably would have throw it away anyways, but they could have taken the coconut away before I reached, and I wouldn't have no idea what happened to my car and how it happened, let alone explaining it to the people at the insurance company. Though thankfully we have the CCTV that would have shown clearly what happened. If I had the society to show me the footage, I was extremely pissed off because they didn't have any form of sympathy, or they had the audacity to be rude about telling me that the coconut is theirs and they don't care what happened to the car, but an idea brewed in my mind. Since I had the CCTV footage of the coconut hitting the car, and the neighboring building loved to scream on top of their lungs about how the tree is theirs and hence so are the fruits of it. Yes, the coconuts are fruits. I just claimed the amount on them, considering the damage was caused by their property. They were pissed off when they were sent a letter about the situation, and on learning the fact that they had to pay for the damages caused, a couple of them immediately rushed to my home, essentially shouting at me for why I did it, and I simply said, "You can keep your coconuts all you want. Your coconut broke my car and now you have to pay for it." The society funds had to dish out about approximately $200, which is a lot in India because the story takes place in India, and they weren't happy about it at all. Since then, 2 coconuts have fallen from the tree. Thankfully, no cars were hurt those times. Oh, I love that he says that they were hurt. Like, cars can feel it. Oh. And I don't use anyone try to come and take the coconuts. They had to pay $200 for half a buck coconut. I'd say 10-20 coconuts in the past maybe 3 years, so like $10 worth of coconuts. Well, it's great that you've done what you've done, but I just wonder, are you the first person to do it? And if yes, why? Why nobody have ever done it before? Because you have security footage. That's like the ultimate argument in like any situation. I just wonder. The next story is a long one, but it has a very satisfying ending. Loved it. So yeah, to the story. I work as a logistical consultant and have done so for the past 7 years. Most of my work is short-term contracts to update and optimize logistical systems for manufacturers and delivery businesses. I do have a couple of long-term contracts with repeat clients, and this story is about one such client. I got a job offer 6 years ago with a friend who inherited his family's machine shop. His father is a brilliant man, but not business savvy in the slightest. But the entire business was teetering on bankruptcy. My main job there was optimizing the production method for both existing contracts and future contracts. This was my first long-term contract, but I had been doing similar work for a few years and had gotten a couple of patents for producing some intricate parts before getting this job. In the contract negotiating, I made sure that any patents developed in the course of my work would be retained completely by me. The contract term was 5 years before reevaluating. It took a lot of time and work, but the company became rather successful, especially considering the condition my friend inherited it. The 2020 happened, and after about a year of trying to stay afloat, my friend sold to some entrepreneur who wanted to get into the industry. In the months prior to the sale, the new boss was trying to familiarize himself with the business. Being in the charge of logistics, I had given him a tour of the place and informed him of the patented methods used. This was happening right around the time my contract reevaluation was supposed to happen, and I asked whether I'd be negotiating with him or the new boss. He realized I didn't want to be stuck in a contract I would negotiate with him if he wasn't gonna be my boss, and he assured me that he'd make sure my new contract would be negotiated with the new boss. The new boss started restructuring and laying off most salaried employees and cutting benefits like vacation and sick time as soon as the acquisition went through. I was not a fan of this new boss since he, in addition to this, was an bot with zero experience and refused to acknowledge that fact. He did not understand what exactly my job was and thought it was unnecessary. I could tell he was just waiting for my contract negotiation. Fast forward for about a month into the new regime and enter the crap show that was my negotiation. He was on the opinion that I was overpaid and inefficient. He all but said that I was unnecessary. My only options were to either essentially become a part-time contractor with an effective 70% cut for what I was making and none of my benefits, or be fired. When he gave me that ultimatum, I was beyond shocked. I immediately contacted my lawyer and he told me the contract was absolutely insulting. Needless to say, I chose option 2, to be fired. Over the course of my time there, I had filed 2 patents that were extensively used by the company. With shorter contracts, I typically negotiate for better royalty rate than benefits or salary, but since this business was both with my friend and supposed to be long-term, I opted for negotiating benefits. About a week after the negotiations were completed, I told the new boss we'd need to discuss royalties before my term was officially over. He was not amused and was dismissive. After enough pressing from me, we had a meeting with lawyers present. What's important to know is that one patent is extensively used in the production of an electrical device for the company's biggest client. The royalties deal written up by my lawyer was the standard one I use for most companies, which is more expensive than my previous contract. New boss was shocking and fuming, saying how this was completely ridiculous and bordering on extortion considering how much more expensive it would be and how not being able to use the patent would mean he'd lose clients while shifting production methods. I told him that he had in total 6 months of time to figure out what it was that I did and to familiarize himself with the company, and the fact that I had told him when I gave him the tour that I was the patent holder. He also couldn't ask for a quote and my usual rates. The first meeting ended very abruptly after this, and 3 days later he came with an insulting counter offer where I'd be employed again, but with far less benefits than I originally had. I told him I don't want to work for him and that he either pays my rate or changes the production methods. This would entail replacing a lot of tooling and equipment and retraining workers. He threatened to sue and got rather belligerent, so I told him I'd see him in court if that was the case. Otherwise, he knows my offer and has my contact information. He quickly realized that even in the unlikely event of the court deciding in his favor, that he'd still lose a lot of money in the legal fees. After the meeting, I told my lawyer to draft a cease and desist and have it ready for when my contract expires. The new boss started looking for my replacement. He had not stopped production or even told the clients about it during the time period. The day after my term ended, I sent the cease and desist letter and production stopped. He lost most clients, most employees just jumped ship, and last week declared bankruptcy. Hope he learned his lesson. Never screw over the logistics guy. Well, I guess the lesson here is never screw with people who work for you and who are necessary for your production. I cannot even believe how stupid you can be when you are not familiar with the business area and you have this amazing professional who is willing to work for you, who is willing to communicate with you, and you just ditch it. And of course you lose the business. I mean, is there another way this could have ended? Of course not. You need to wait for a manager to let you go home. Okay. So, I work as a store that sells kitchen appliances and other kitchen-related stuff. Normally, when we're supposed to leave or go on break, we're supposed to tell our manager. I was helping a long line at cash and had already been there for 8 hours, and as soon they had someone to cover me, I wasn't allowed to use the walkies to ask to be covered or to go home. So, I quickly found my manager and told her my shift was done. She got really pissy at me and said, "Could you really not stay a few more minutes?" I tried to tell her, "I thought you had someone to cover me and I can stay if you want." She then replied, No, just go, but the next time you need to wait for a manager to let you go home." This was never a rule. I asked other people who've worked there for years and they agreed it wasn't a rule. I worked again a few days later and the store was empty. My shift was over and I was about to ask to go home, and then I remember that my manager told me, "Cue malicious compliance." I continued to wander the store and slightly fix shelves, making sure I was near my manager. After about 2.5 hours, she said, "You're still here? Why haven't you gone home?" I replied, "You said I need to wait to be told to go home." My manager looked at me as though she was mentally kicking herself. "Just go," she said. I clocked out, and that's how I got paid an extra $30 for doing literally nothing. Well, I have only one remark, except for, of course, that's a great story. $30, love it. I mean, to be lazy. But you said that you have worked 8 hours. But what caught my attention is that you said I've been there already for 8 hours. You mean like non-stop? You're like a droid. Wow. Only managers should be running breaks. I am a team lead for a fast food company. Sometimes I'm in charge of little things in my zone for the day. Management agrees one of those things is making sure everyone gets their state-mandated lunch break on time. Well, except for one manager. One day I started running breaks on time, and before my coworker Diane even clocked out, my manager Karen stopped them. Diane was sent back to position and I was corrected on my actions of running a break without a manager approval. I had the break covered, it wasn't a peak hour and we weren't drowning in orders, and it was their scheduled break time, malicious compliance time, and everyone else in my zone was okay with this. Breaks don't get run. Diane stands in position for another solid 2 hours. We are 2 hours behind breaks. Diane is getting close to a rest violation, which is at 5 hours. At 5 hours and 55 minutes of no break, Karen comes rushing around the corner to cover Diane's break before she rest violates. At the end of my shift, 3 of us violated. I was pulled into the office. Karen was asking me to give her a good reason not to write me up for what could be a mini HR nightmare. I said I was following her orders and that the entire zone overheard her as well. My zone breaks are now about 10 to 15 minutes early every day. Well, I guess we can say that you managed your manager. You won't let me do my job? Okay then. I am currently working at a small office doing customer service to Finance University. Last summer, I got assigned with a new superior when my old one went on maternity leave. Mind you, at this time, I had been doing my job for close to 2 years. Every colleague said that I was doing a great job, my error quota was really low, and so on. My primary task is answering the phone to help customers with all sorts of questions they have. Secondary tasks include handling the mail, checking application forms, etc. If I don't know an answer, I'll transfer the customers to the next level support, which is really just my colleagues without a fixed-term contract. The guy I was assigned to is the most aggressive, micromanaging dude one could imagine. He insisted on sitting next to me for a 6-hour shift to supervise how I talk to people. Pretty sure that was illegal since he could hear every customer call with me. Since that made me incredibly nervous, and I told him that I was very careful and hesitant with my support on that particular day. Other colleagues told him about how satisfied they were with my work, but he still decided that I was too incompetent to give out qualified answers beyond first-level support. Well, that's how my new superior decided that I wasn't good enough at my job and forbade me to give out information on my own without double checking with the next level support, in this case him, and some other colleagues first. Let's just say that in my pettiness, I have redirected every phone call that falls into his domain straight to his phone for the last few months. His call quota went up from roughly 2-3 calls a shift to about 20. Every customer gets his work mail address so he can answer stuff properly. Since I am too incompetent to give out answers, I have known by heart for 2 years. Oh, and since he also forbade me to do things simultaneously, for example, answering the phone while working through application forms and so on, because that would increase my error quota, which never happened. I have collected a nice amount of overtime. Overtime hours aren't paid out where I live, meaning you have to take days off to get rid of them. I am currently eligible to leave roughly 3 months before my contract ends, so I have no vacation overtime left when my last day arrives. That's 3 months of him having to do my job full time, because he can't get another student to do it before my contract officially ends. Well, I guess the only thing I can say is enjoy your sweet 3 months of paid vacation. Love it. Also, here are the links to more Reddit videos on my channel. Check them out. Thank you for watching and subscribe for more. Bye!